Hello, lovely miniaturists. We're here to create another exciting medieval treasure. Welcome to the Wonderland. Today we're making miniature medieval playing cards and a beautiful tiny box to house them in. What fun! I have created 2 sets of printables, making 2 playing decks and their boxes. Every tiny card has been individually crafted. The deck consists of 52 cards bearing custom pips and suits. As in medieval times, the cards have a decorated wooden box for storage. The box has a functional lid and houses the precious cards neatly and safely for display. As always, we start with the printables. These can be downloaded from the link below the video description, as well as the list of tools and supplies that I used. Printable 1 shows the 52 playing cards with the first of 2 backing patterns. I used 160 GSM cardstock for the cards. Printable 2 is the cutout of the box which will house the cards. For this I used a thicker 200 GSM cardstock. Before starting to cut these out, it's important to spray the back and front of both printables with a thin coat of clear gloss aerosol lacquer. This seals and protects them as you cut them out or bend and paint them later. I have used artistic license to create my own medieval themed suits. They are crowns, fleur-de-lis, rampant lion and Maltese cross. I included 2 jesters just for fun, even though these were not present in medieval decks. The wooden box depicts the 4 card suits on the outside. It will snugly house the 54 cards in 2 adjoining piles of 27 cards. Once the sealer has dried, you can begin to cut them out. Begin by cutting off the excess paper surrounding the edge of the cards. If you have time and patience, you can use a pair of standard scissors to cut the cards out. I'm using a paper trimmer as the cuts are more accurate and of course quicker. Jester or Joker cards were only introduced much later in the 19th century. This is why I've only included them for fun. Don't forget to put these 2 cards to one side, otherwise you could end up throwing them away with the offcuts. I prefer to cut vertically first, as this separates more cards per slice. My mini cards are historically accurate. There are 13 cards in each suit, just as in medieval times. The suit and value were not printed in the corner of playing cards as they are today, and the face cards or court cards were modelled after famous historical figures. My tiny face cards depict actual medieval European kings and queens, as well as their names. Playing card suits have changed many times since they first arrived in medieval Europe on the Silk Route from Asia. When using a trimmer, it's much easier to cut out these printables if there aren't wide gaps between them. I've created just enough space between each card to perfectly separate 2 cards with each slice. When you're finished cutting out the playing cards, put them aside for later. Medieval playing cards were stored in decorated, fabric-lined boxes and were only occasionally taken out to gaze upon or be displayed. The design at the back of Printable 2 represents the inner fabric lining of the card box. Medieval playing cards were made for the noble and rich and were longer and 4 times as thick as modern playing cards. The lid is made of 2 pieces which will later be glued together back to back. This will look like a beautifully painted inner lid when the box is opened. The mini box is easy enough to cut out, but try to cut carefully along the edges and fine lines and pay attention to the small details. Black markings are specifically placed to facilitate the correct assembly of the lid and hinges. The two lid pieces will be glued back to back so that the picture faces up when the box is opened. You can print this printable on thicker cardstock to better represent the likeness of wood, but the cardstock should not be so thick that you later battle to bend it along the fold lines during assembly. Use a small-sized ballpoint stylus to score the box lines. The clear lacquer that we sprayed over the printables helps to protect it now. Score the white edges that will be tucked in. The double black crosses mark the score lines for the corners of the box. The box must be folded outwards along the separation lines. Gently coax the cardstock while bending it to avoid damage to the printed surface. When all the corners have been folded, do a practice run of building the box before you apply any glue. This ensures that you have folded the correct corners and that everything fits well. Apply glue to the white edges. I used Aileen's thick tacky glue which did not soak the cardstock. It's important not to wet or warp the cardstock and to keep the box sides as straight as possible so that they continue to look like wood. Tuck the white edges in and apply gentle pressure to them as they dry. Keep ensuring that the box edges stay square and straight until you are happy that they've dried in the right position. I first tried using thin black leatherette and even fine cloth to create the box hinges, but nothing worked as satisfactorily as dental floss. I used expanding floss as it offered the width and movement that I needed. I used the edge of a metal ruler to flatten it so that it widens out. The floss will be glued to the back of the outer side of the box lid. The hinges must be in straight alignment with each of the two metal rods and must face downwards towards the black horizontal line. The floss pieces must be approximately ½ an inch long. To paint them, I used undiluted black acrylic paint, turning them over and painting both sides well. Align each one under the metal rod and attach them to the back of the outer box lid. Use the solid black line at the bottom as a marker to ensure they are facing the right way. The protruding piece should be approximately 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters. The two black marks at the bottom of the picture must face downwards, just like the solid black line on the outside of the lid. The picture must not be upside down when the box is opened. The two lid pieces can now be glued back to back on their patterned side. Align the two pieces well. Don't worry about any white edges that are showing now, as we will be touching these up with brown paint later. If aligned correctly, the black markings at the bottom of the picture will look like the extensions of the metal hinges. The horizontal black line on the lid must now align with the horizontal black line on the back of the box. There are marks at the back for the hinge to be glued onto. Check that your alignment is good before applying glue to the hinges. Bend the protruding floss to 90 degrees in preparation for gluing. Test to see that the parts fit and that the hinges are not too long. Apply the glue. Before attaching, first ensure that the lid fits snugly when it's in the closed position. The lid should extend about 1 millimeter over the body of the box, except at the back. When you're happy, press the hinges down onto the black squares marked at the back of the box. Make sure that your hinges are glued securely and that the lid opens and closes easily. The box has a separator down the middle, creating two adjoining piles of 27 cards each. Using ordinary wooden sucker sticks, cut a piece that's 5/8 of an inch or 1.5 centimeters long. If the edges are rough or uneven, use a craft knife to trim them. Test to see that the separator fits snugly without pushing the box walls outwards or pulling them inwards. Paint with 1 or 2 coats of brown acrylic paint and leave to dry. Since we have some diluted brown paint, let's touch up all those unsightly bits of white cardstock. I use brown paint on almost all my projects. It's very forgiving and gives any medieval item a weathered look. Once again, the clear lacquer we sprayed earlier protects the printable from soaking up the brown paint, giving you time to wipe away any excess. Make sure you cover up any white edges that are showing and watch this little box slowly come alive. Once the flaws are hidden, it begins to show authentic wooden charm. Once the paint on the separator has dried, apply glue on 3 of its sides and drop it into place. Align it as accurately as possible in the middle of the box. to align it perfectly, use the rampant lion shield in the front of the box as a guide. Our little box is almost finished, but we still have to add some bling. You know how much I love to add gold and brass to my medieval projects, and this is no exception. I use these tiny brass nail heads to give some metal detail to the box. I remove the tiny heads with a front cutter and place them somewhere where I can't easily lose them. I'm only using 4 studs for the box. I place one on either side of the lock at the front of the box to give it a little more detail. At the back of the box where the hinges were attached, I glue a stud on either side. This finishes the metal work off nicely. The metal studs do add another lovely element to this darling little box. The brass heads are a little too shiny compared to the rest of the body, so once again I weather them with brown paint. Just to make sure that everything fits well together, I test to see if the cards sit nicely inside the box. My hands are far too clumsy to handle them, so I'm having a lot of fun picking them up with my tweezers. Perfect! 2 equal-sized piles fitting snugly into the box. I'm happy with how everything looks so far. The studs, the paintwork, the cards, the separator and the moving lid. Some of you will be happy with only one deck of cards and its storage box, but some may prefer the traditional 2 playing decks with 2 different backing patterns, and therefore a second box as well. So I've created a second set of printables that contains a different card pattern, lid painting and inner box lining. This printable is available at a discounted price and also has a link below the video description. The playing card edges must be painted as the white sides look very raw and unfinished. You can choose to finish the deck off in whichever color you prefer. Before you start painting, turn the outermost card inwards on both ends of the pile so as to prevent paint from getting onto the face of the card. Use mini clips to press and hold the pile tightly, preventing paint from seeping in between the cards. I divided the deck into 2 piles of 27, making it easier to handle and paint. In medieval times, there wasn't a single standardized size for playing cards. Sizes vary depending on the region, the maker and the specific deck. You can make your little cards look as unique as you please. Our playing cards look finished and more authentic now. I was very happy with the medieval look and aging effect of the brown paint. However, I'm never completely happy if I don't at least play with some gold color. It is just so appropriate for medieval projects. First, I used some gold wax, which was lovely, but didn't quite produce the effect I wanted. The edges were not gold enough for my liking, and I thought it made the cards look a little grungy. So I finally brought in the gold ink. That was more like it. I had so much fun seeing the gleaming gilded edges. One cannot have too much gold sometimes. I think the gold looks striking on the mini cards and gives the effect of a tiny frame around each card face. This makes me so happy. My medieval card decks are now complete. I love these miniature playing cards. They look so elegant and magical. Both colors look equally lovely and very authentic. In medieval times, some extravagant playing cards had gilded edges and backgrounds that made them appear like beautiful small paintings. I feel that my mini cards look just like that. I'll be using heat embossing to accentuate the wrought iron metalwork on the box. Always remember to wipe your surface with an anti-static pouch before you start applying any ink. This prevents the powder from sticking to any parts that you don't want it to. Use an embossing pen to apply ink to the metalwork design. The trick is to be careful not to smudge the ink. Remember that wherever ink is applied, powder will stick to it, so make sure that you highlight your details neatly. You are welcome to highlight any detail on the box, but I decided that embossing only the metalwork made the look more realistic. Work with one side of the box at a time, as this helps to prevent smudging. Pour the clear embossing powder generously over the wet ink. I use a cupcake liner to catch the excess powder. Make sure you cover the whole design. Gently shake off the excess powder. The design should stand out clearly. Once you shake the excess powder off, return it to the bottle for reuse. Use a heat gun to create some hot magic. Heat the powder until it melts and slowly transforms into a clear, raised texture. The design should look crisp and neat, and the black metal should stand out as knobbly and realistic. It really brings true dimension to the metalwork. If static has caused any stray powder to stick where no ink was applied, a forceful blow of air should help remove it. You can also use an earbud to wipe it away. Make sure that you remove unwanted powder before applying heat, as it will ruin your design. The possibilities of heat embossing are endless. I never grow tired of seeing texture magically emerge as the powder melts. The beautiful playing cards and their charming boxes are now complete. I love the detail of the 4 medieval suits, the court cards that depict actual medieval kings and queens, and the functional little box with its knobbly metalwork. What a joy this project was for me. I had so much fun. I hope you feel as much delight when you create these medieval beauties. It's a pleasure to create these videos for you. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more, I'd be grateful if you subscribed and hit the notification button. Until the next time, bye.